I don't understand why whites don't allow themselves to see the proof that's in the pudding. For example, it was a picture posted of an interracial relationship on Instagram and it got heavy. So we started jumping into the history of whites and blacks. And someone posted Egyptian isn't black people, Egyptian is a race. So let's look at the proof in the pudding. You got the word African American coined by uh, a coon, Jesse Jackson. African American. All right, let's take off American and keep Africa. We just gonna go back into town, right? So before the transatlantic slave trade, we would be considered Africans. Now, on the continent of Africa, you have many countries. One country being Egypt, or Kemet, or Tawi, or Hopi, right? Now, what is it about the white people to where they don't want to accept um they don't want to accept Egypt being African? Or even when we go back further, when we're dealing with the map, we will understand that there is no Middle East. So then I go, what is it about the Arabs to where they say we don't live in Africa, we live in the Middle East? Now the funny thing is, when we go back further and look at the proof in the pudding, before we were enslaved through the transatlantic slave trade, we were enslaved in the sub-Saharan slave trade. Now, what two races controlled these? Who controlled the sub-Saharan slave trade? The so-called Middle Easterners, the Arabs. Who controlled the transatlantic slave trade? The European. Why do they both deny the origin? Where everything was created, Africa. Because they don't want to give us our just due. And what fuck me up is, correct me if I'm wrong and acknowledge me if I'm right, but black people, it ain't like we want to go, oh, we over top of y'all now, we gonna punish y'all motherfuckers. Well, shit, no, some blacks do want to punish these motherfuckers because they tired, but they don't want to punish them for nothing. For nothing. But I just think, and generally, we saying, yo, just give us our just due, accept our greatness, and let's leave it alone. And when I say leave it alone, I mean as far as I think the best thing that we could have stayed in was integration, because we had our own banks, we had our own markets, we had our own businesses. But we would profit and soar over any other race. Why? Because we spend the most. So in us spending the most, that means if it was integration, the money would circulate, making us more powerful. Right? And the Europeans and even the Arabs, they don't want that. They live for power. You know what I mean? So they'll deny anything that will shorten their power. But history don't lie. I got in the debate, and in this debate, someone said Roman general by the name of Scipios Africanus named Africa from defeating Hannibal. I said, okay. Then I asked them, was Hannibal the leading general in Africa? As big as Africa is, and as many countries Africa has, he was the general for the whole shit. They go, I don't know, but he was pretty big. All right, cool. I give you that. Now, let's jump to the Romans. In Roman culture, when you defeat someone, you do not rename the place that they're from. What you do is you add the name of the place you defeated to your name. So people can say, okay, I know he defeated this place. Just like the people that killed Caesar, when they defeated Caesar, they added Caesar to their name. The proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers was eating the pudding, you know what I mean, until they got Bill Cosby. But that's a different story. All I'm saying is, without even looking at any book, right? We could look at what's in front of us. Now, when the books go against what's in front of us, it fuck motherfuckers up. It get them going into what you call belief. Like, for instance, there go. God created man and called him Adam. And out of a man's rib, he created Eve. If this is so, why have I never seen any offspring created from a man's rib? Because when I'm looking at life and nature and looking at these stories, it's a fucking contradiction. But I know when I go back into our so-called Holy Trinity, it was Asar, Aset, and Haru, mother, father, and child. The father and the mother have intercourse and produce a child. That shit make perfect sense to me. Perfect sense. You see what I'm saying? Why are the most sophisticated, so-called sophisticated, right, beings, the human beings, why the fuck is we the most stupidest? Like, even when we look at animals, these motherfuckers know, yo, it's getting cold outside. Before it get too cold, let me go grab all the food I need, store this shit, and go to sleep. Let me hibernate, you know what I mean? Let me chill, let me lay off so I can beat this cold weather. Now, in a sense, we do the same thing when it's cold, you heat up, you in the house more, right? Now, when a dog is in heat, you know, they send out smells or whatever, so the male know, yo, she want to get busy, it's time to do this. Now, with a woman has times to where she can get pregnant, right? So all I'm doing is showing you how we are not disconnected from nature. We are connected because we are nature, but we choose to disconnect ourselves. For what? Well, we didn't choose necessarily. We didn't choose to do our research. But the European know, if they following these laws called nature, then I will not be able to have power over them. I have to give them something significant they can look up to, so therefore they can believe not nature, but believe me. You see what I'm saying? Even the words like the I guess the powers that be, like the Vatican or some shit, says, you know what? We gotta rock them to sleep. And the best way for them to start to build with each other is understanding and communication. So even with communication, we gotta rock them to sleep. So watch this. We gotta put them in a trance so they can't translate. We don't want them to be awake in the morning. That can't happen. So what we'll call, when they would go see their deceased, we'll call that awake, to confuse the mind. When they wake up in the morning, just like death when someone dying, we're going to call that mourning, to confuse the mind. This shit is big business, right? Big psychology, right? Big power to keep the masses asleep, right? They say the wise wolf walk alone. So when you going through the history and the research and you go, hold the fuck up. Fuck what everybody else is saying. Let me just think for myself and break down what makes sense to me. Dealing with what I see. When you start going back, then you go, hold the fuck. This shit is a whole fucking lie. These motherfuckers is so smooth that they'll even change the frequency of life from, I think it's middle C to, I believe, A, speeding up life at a faster rhythmic pace to where when it's faster, you'll age faster. But why are they speeding it up instead of slowing it down? Well, my interpretation of that is if when a pimp talk and he talking fast and slick and sly, the shit may sound good, but you gonna miss on some shit. So at the end of him talking, he gonna say right. It sounds so good to you that you go right. But let's go to the old folk with wisdom. When they speaking slow. Not only can you think about what they're saying through the conversation, you can understand it, therefore understanding the question, therefore giving a definite answer and being sure about it. All I'm saying is, God damn, like, when will we evolve into listening and understanding? You know what I mean? Motherfuckers go, all lives matter, right? I ask, as a whole, because you know people like to pick 3 or 4 white people out of the bunch and say they good. All right, I'm not gonna argue that, but as a whole, when have Europeans ever gave a fuck about a black race as a whole? Even going back to the transatlantic slave trade, they ain't say, listen, we gonna group these motherfuckers in the groups they came from and we'll let them carry their own culture, spirituality. We'll give them that. No, they not gonna do that. Let's confuse them. Let's take them out their tongue. Let's give them our God. And giving them our God, they'll look at us as gods. They'll be quick to go against each other when the confusion set in and won't go against us. We're going to go get them on the boat and name good ship Jesus. Strip them of everything and tell them, go ahead and love Jesus. Then what black people do, so confused, they'll take a white theme, a white book or whatnot, and try to get some blackness out of it. But let's make this clear. When we read the Bible, all nations that were set up soon as the Bible ever started was fucking African nations. They did not have to go through and give you the stories of how they set them up, because science showed us European is only 6,000 years old. So when you open the book, the stage is already set with our splendor. But they lie and say, oh, the Hebrews were slaves in Exodus and this, that, the third. Bullshit. How the fuck was y'all slaves when everything was built before y'all motherfuckers even got here? Before y'all came down off the mountains and started doing y'all wicked shit, everything was established. Y'all fucked it up. Now let's speed this in the present day. Let's look at this Western world. Oh, great America, this, that, the third. How? Y'all motherfuckers build buildings on top of every fucking thing, stopping nature. Our water we drink to preserve us, y'all dump motherfucking chemicals and shit like that in it. The proof is in the fucking pudding. You can take the book away and just look around you. Facts. Peace and I'm out. One love.